Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of April 15th to April 21st. Before we need to do any type of recap or look ahead, we need to just do a couple quick little things. One, I have to express gratitude. I'm somebody that likes to practice gratitude every single day, and I want to express my gratitude for everybody that came to visit me in the Guthrie Green eclipse event that we had in downtown Tulsa. I had a lot of new people come over and introduce themselves. I've spoke to a lot of really great people. I had some people that I've known for a long time come and visit, and it was just a really great event for us to sit in downtown Tulsa. We had a couple hundred people that showed up, and we were able to watch the totality of the eclipse, which was awesome. And it was just a lot of fun. So I really wanted to express gratitude for the people that came and joined for that event. It was so great to experience that with you guys and to be a part of that with you guys. Number two, I also want to say thank you for everybody that's been hopping onto those interactive Zooms. I said at the start of the Mercury retrograde that throughout the entire Mercury retrograde, we'll do Zooms twice a week to kind of get a feel as to like how they're going to go. They've been super great because each time we've had like some awesome like transit that has just occurred that we've been able to put together and talk about that transit immediately and allow for everybody to kind of learn from one another as to how that transit manifested in their life, whether it was really big things or just super small things. We had little things that were coming about that it's given everybody a fresh perspective of how to identify those astrological transits when they're coming up in your life. Because sometimes people will hear them or they'll be a part of them and they're just dumbfounded, like, I don't know what that was. Like, well, what happened today? Let's talk about it. And it gives a whole different level of learning experience because we're learning in a more community vibe. And I wanted to really say thank you for those that have been attending that. Again, once we're through the Mercury retrograde, I'm going to change up my schedule a little bit. I'm going to start reincorporating either TikTok lives or Facebook lives. I really just need to hear from you guys as to which one you prefer. So either send me a message or put it in the comments of whether you prefer TikTok lives or Facebook lives, because when I start to reincorporate them, I want to make sure we're doing it on a very consistent basis for everybody. And last but not least, of course, my one-on-one specials. I've been doing hour-long one-on-ones for $35, but I've also been telling you guys individually that if you want 90 minutes so you can get more time talking about your chart and anything else, take on more of the learning experience. I've also been doing those for $50. So just remember, all of my one-on-ones are on special throughout the month of April. So if you're wanting some time with me, make sure you're getting those booked pretty soon, because as soon as like I do a fresh episode and remind everybody I'm gonna have a special going on, then I get the DMs going, I need time, I need time, I need time. So if you're wanting time with me, go ahead and get those set up, because before you know it, May is going to be over, and that special that's been going on for 2 months is going to be gone. So we need, if you want that time, you should really get those booked. Okay. How was the eclipse? For some people, we felt a little wonky afterwards. And I didn't really put this into the podcast episode because it was one of those things that I started to notice the effect during the eclipse and after. So I ended up doing a TikTok about this, stating that now that we've gone through this energy, we're going to feel a little bit wonky. And I kind of missed this, and I wished I hadn't, because it really would have been good in last week's episode. For those that don't know, in a medical astrology, Aries is associated with the head. Mercury, which rules our logical brain, is retrograde in the sign of Aries. And this was a new moon in the sign of Aries. And the moon, of course, rules that emotional, intuitive sign of the brain. So the immediate effect after that eclipse, in some people, it was a drive and a determination. But for other people, it left us feeling a little bit wonky. We had sea legs, even though we hadn't been out to sea. Some of us felt a little drunk, but we hadn't touched a drop. Like there was a actual physical effect that started from the head that did impact the body after that eclipse. Not everybody, but for a lot of people, we became very easily distracted, a lot more jumpy, a lot more clumsy. There was a lot more accidents that followed. And that really had to do with the way that we were, again, dealing with our heads after the eclipse. So there was a big equilibrium shift for a lot of people. And as soon as I really started to pick up on that, like I said, I did a TikTok, but not everybody sees those. So that is something that I wish I'd have picked up on ahead of time. I'm just being honest about that. Beyond just the eclipse, we had two other transits though last week. One was the Mars-Saturn conjunction. And for some people, that was a very big meeting in regards to like actions and elders. That was something that required a certain amount of accountability being held against certain people. Or it was something that empowered us to be able to take certain steps towards healing, towards overcoming, towards taking leaps forward. However, we were a little wonky. Not everybody took leaps forward. Instead, the leap was the first step in communication. And for a lot of people, that communication was directly tied to the Mercury cazimi and the days that followed while the moon was going through Gemini. And I said, once we got to the end of the week, it would be a lot louder, busier, more talkative. We're having certain conversations about what changes we have made, recent events, selling the family home, wanting to take extra time to go travel and see our families, taking that next step up in regards to career, taking those next steps in a direction. And a lot of those steps are very, very necessary steps. And some of the steps of last week are even going to be a big feed as to what starts to go on this week. And when we go through the energy of this week, every single day is building up to a major transit that actually perfects over the weekend. But the energy of that transit will literally encompass the whole last half of this month. And we have major changes that are going to shift, major breakthroughs. And that comes with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Now, they are going to start to be within a degree of each other on Monday. By the end of the week, they will have had their actual conjunction. And after their conjunction going into the next week, we will still be riding the energies from whatever is meant to come together. Now, whenever you take into account, both Jupiter and Uranus have their things that they rule. Jupiter in regards to hope, abundance, prosperity. It expands everything that it touches. It is the teacher. It is the guru. It is the person that teaches us, that gives us hope, that talks about our faith, that helps us establish our faith. But then we have this energy of Uranus. This is the breaker of chains. There will be breakthroughs and breakups because it's the breaker of chains. We desire independence. Uranus is all about independence, excitement, changes in technology, expansion. And over the course of the next 2 weeks, there will be some big picture things that really impact us once they come to light. There's little things that get debuted, new things in technology, new things in energy, new things that are going to affect lots and lots of people because, again, Jupiter expands everything that it touches. But whenever it comes to that energy of Uranus, it changes the expansion. And again, there will be elements to whatever's going on this week that is either going to lead to really big, exciting things coming together. Oh, it's going to be so wonderful. We're going to have this major breakthrough or awakening like energy because there is a lot of energy tied to Uranus that I keep feeling is going to lead to additional levels of awakenings for certain people. But then in other ways, with that Mercury retrograde, there tells me that there's going to be some elements of this week where people are going to be parting ways. And the hope that we have, the faith that we must center ourselves on, is going to be because we're going to finally take steps towards level of independence. And if you are in toxic situations where we're trying to finally get something shaken up or dealt with or overcome or break away from, then there are parts of the energy this week that speaks to how you gain independence. But not everybody's about independence. Some people are waiting for a breakthrough. a hopeful awakening, that next round of energy, that next round of healing, that next round of something finally coming together. And that too can be spoken through the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus. Now, this is not a common conjunction. It happens roughly every 14 to 15 years. One time or 3 times, depending on the year. Sometimes it's 3 times, but that's a retrograde situation. In this particular case, it's one and done. And we've been building towards it since May of last year. May, Jupiter entered Taurus, went all the way to 15 degrees. September turned retrograde, went all the way back down to 5. And for months, only went over these few areas of the sky. But literally since the end of March, Jupiter has left shadow. And Jupiter is finally bridging over areas of Taurus in a 2-month span. The end of March to the end of May is going to cover and encompass all of the growth and hope and expansion and grace of what Jupiter and Taurus is supposed to represent. We get it all in this hyperized 2-month time frame. And in this 2-month time frame, we're getting our first conjunction to Jupiter since last year. And that's the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. I'm not counting the moon for this part of the conversation. I'm talking about the big stuff. What will follow once we get into May, the month of May, will be more conjunctions to Jupiter and more hopefulness and more expansion and more growth. But for us to understand what that new growth is going to be, that new normal is going to be, where we're going to have that taking step and taking stage, we have to have the energy that speaks to breakthroughs or breakups this week. Now, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is happening in the sign of Taurus. Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Venus, who is in Aries. She's about 2 weeks in now. The thing about Venus and Aries right now is she's been super quiet. All of these things are going on and all of these things are impacting her. But whenever it comes to her making actual transits and conjunctions and movement, we haven't had that yet. We will be having those, though, the start of those this week. This week, Venus will go through a contra-ANTICIA to Saturn. For those that don't know what a contra-ANTICIA is, that is a secret conjunction. And I think it's funny that the way we started eclipse season was an actual conjunction, because Venus and Saturn had their conjunction in the sign of Pisces right before the Libra eclipse that happened in the end of March. Now we've had all of these things getting stirred up, letting us know where we want to get something started anew. And Venus will be actually making certain conjunctions this week. Her energy will speak through where we're meant to go next. And there will be a lot of actions based off of Venus's condition. Now, the thing about all of these actions is once we accomplish certain things, then afterwards we can get really tired, like, oh my God, that was so much energy. That took so much out of me. And part of that is because whenever Venus does go through her detriment, she can get really tired really fast. And I need people to be prepared for that. We'll get so much accomplished, then all of a sudden, man, I'm tired. Why am I so tired? I don't know. I didn't think it was that much. It was a lot. You just didn't know it. But all of it is meant to take us into where we're going to start to see the expansion of the new normal. There's a lot of movement this week. There's a lot of change, collective changes that are continuing from the previous weeks through this week and into next week, that is going through the stream of effect. The water is getting more rapid. And you're going to experience a lot of that whenever it comes to this week. And whenever it comes to where we're going, again, so much of it is about karma and the accountability finally pushing through for some level of result. Are we going to get all the results in a single week? No, we never do. But the pattern and the flow and the adjustment, that we will experience, that we will see, and that we will know. And whether you're going to be moving forward with the idea of something has finally changed in somebody's behavior, in somebody's mind, or whether the pattern of this week is that we're finally sick of somebody's bullshit and we're going to be breaking away, the events will have this trickle effect of one thing after another that will lead to the major breakthroughs. And the human effect is some people will have their breakthrough and ending this week specifically based off of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. But for other people, it's going to go into next week because next week is the full moon in Scorpio. The full moon that to me instigates the end of eclipse season. And whatever we are starting to understand and move into and focus on is meant to have a long-term effect. Things that we've been building towards literally since Scorpio season and that Mars rebirth that we had back then. So let's get into the transits. Let's get into this week. Let's get into it. Let's get into Monday. Monday, April 15th, and we are starting very, very late Sunday evening, early Monday morning, depending on how you want to look at this. It's 1:30 in the morning on Monday morning. The reason we are at this time is this tells me that for some people, they're going to be up late on Sunday having certain conversations about how this week is going to go. Because again, it's not going to be a surprise. We know we are either willing to move forward and accept the certain changes of another person, or we are wanting to move away from somebody based off the changes of another person. Why do I say that in particular? Because the very first transit is going to be right here. Excuse me. I got Mercury, 20 degrees, 4 minutes retrograde, squaring the moon. Now, we feel this the most exact between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. So I got this at 1:30. It's pretty close. And you can see the moon, of course, it's always moving forward. It's in the sign of Cancer, but Mercury is retrograde and Mercury is moving backwards. It's like a cartoon. Which way did we go, George? Which way did they go? They're going in two separate directions. Now, for some people, we're going to just make the choice again to move forward and accept that somebody is finally changing their tune, whether they are changing their tune in a temporary standpoint because it's a Mercury retrograde or a long-term standpoint, that is yet to be seen or yet to be known, but we're giving grace. However, not everybody's giving grace. Some people are realizing, I can't do this thing. I can't work in this situation. I can't be in this vibe anymore. And the mental energy of where we start the week on Monday is very much in that vibe. So be prepared for how we're going to start the week. Because whatever this energy is, late Sunday going into Monday, it is going to carry us through the entire week. Okay. Let's keep moving this forward. We're going to get between 2 and 4 a.m. Central Standard Time. Jupiter at 20 degrees is going to sextile the moon. This isn't heavy energy. It could be more along the lines of we're just not getting a whole lot of sleep in the overnight hours. Some people are going to be having some type of like dream message come through, some type of an effect in that regard. Other people just going to having a very hard time sleeping, not necessarily knowing why they can't stay asleep, because each time some of these transits hit, they're like, why am I waking up? But not everybody's going to have a hard time sleeping. Some people, the human effect of these next two little sextiles, it's all going to be a part of the early Monday morning energy. So let me just tell you the transits, and then we'll get to the next main one. So Between 4 a.m. and 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., sorry, Jupiter is going to sextile the moon. Between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., so just bump this another hour to 4:30, Uranus is going to sextile the moon. We can know the first of whenever we wake up the next morning that something's about to hit, something's about to happen, that we have to take care of something a certain way, that there's going to be some frustration, that there's going to be some tests, that there's going to be a lot more busyness and activity going on. And considering as the day progresses, we're building up into the first quarter moon. And usually when you go through the first quarter moon, then you really start to feel a ramp up in certain energy. A lot of the little things from the overnight hours could all be manifesting into this right here. Those sextiles between Jupiter and Uranus, again, you could just have a hard time sleeping. You can wake up with these sudden ideas. Sometimes you wake up and you write something in your little journal if you have one by your bed. Other people, you don't do that at all. It's just you think about it the next morning when you're drinking your coffee, assuming you drink coffee. Some of y'all, it's a monster. I get it. Do whatever you need to do. I'm a coffee girl. But we go through the day, we can feel like something's about to hit or about to kind of step up in the energy. We can feel something ramping up. And that is all building into the first quarter moon that is actually perfecting midway through the day. So we're going to feel this the most between 1 and 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here's the sun, 26 degrees. Here's the moon. This can be something where we're feeling very passionate about something, or we're trying to take some level of consideration because the moon is in the sign of Cancer, or we can be feeling some type of action that needs to happen, that needs to occur, rethinking the situation of how we get something fixed as the day progresses. Now, the one thing that as we continue throughout this entire day is that Mercury is starting to go over the eclipse point from last week, from April 8th. So some of the energies that have been going on since last Monday are playing into this right here. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Think about what was going on last week because we're continuing it. Did you set appointments last week? Did you hire somebody new last week? Did you start talking to somebody new last week? Did you start forming a new partnership? It doesn't always have to be like a relationship when I say partnership. It can be a friendship. It can be something at work. Did something start last week where we're starting to hit the next level of something else? Because there are elements from last week that are playing into Monday and Tuesday. Well, Monday through Thursday, all the way through. Just keep it going. But specifically now from the eclipse as we continue throughout the day. Now, as we get into the evening time, we're going to get this to about 6:30. And between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to be in a sextile from Neptune. Now, Neptune's in the higher authority. And y'all know how I feel about Neptune. Sometimes Neptune is really good about clouding our senses, making us a little confused, making us question whether we're doing something. And we can get to the end of the day based off of the way certain conversations have been had, based off of the way that we're feeling, based off of the way that we're thinking about something. And we can go into the evening again, just feeling emotionally confused. And that would be more of that negative sense because we're trying to understand where we're about to make a change. However, for some people, it's not going to be that. It's going to be more of that nostalgic feel. And we're seeing more growth and that more change because we've allowed somebody to start talking to us again. We've allowed somebody new from the past to come back into our lives. And as the day progresses and that Neptune trine to the moon is like, we're seeing more of that nostalgic effect of like, hey, do you remember that time we went here? Do you remember that time we did this? When was the last time you ate this food? I made this for dinner. And we send those pictures of our food. I'm watching this show. Do you remember this show? We used to watch this when we were kids. I've been showing this to my kids now. It's that type of nostalgia. It's not huge. You're not going to your old amusement park, but it can feel like a little bit of a nostalgic feel that's kind of stamping up and ramping up more of the reconnection energy. It's giving y'all more to talk about. It's giving y'all more to do, more to connect with. Doesn't have to be horrible. So whether it's the nostalgic feel, getting all those old feels in, like, oh my God, I haven't watched this in so long. And oh, I'm so happy. Or it's the other side going, I don't know what the hell crawled up his ass, but I'm really getting sick and tired of the way he's acting, thinking of it in this boss sense. Like, I don't know why he's so mad. I don't know why he's taking things out on me. I don't know what's going on at work. I don't know why they're acting this way. Whether it is the bad or the good, there is this level of something from the past, someone from the past, or there's confusion. If it's confusion, it will not last long. If it's the nostalgia, it doesn't have to last a long time. You know, it's just one of those things that we enjoy it in the moment. So just understand that, again, there's some part of the emotional element that's going to be setting something into our mind based off of the recent events that have occurred. Okay. Now, as we continue, there's not a whole lot more in the direct transits. Whenever we get into the evening time at 9:24 p.m. Central Standard Time, I've got this at 9:30, the moon goes into Leo, the moon goes into the sun sign. And over the next few days, while the moon is going through Leo, the sun is ending its trek through Aries because we're ending something. Again, there are energies that speak to something coming to a close for some people. And if this is coming to a close, we feel super empowered to get something to come to a close. If you're not in the empowered sense of like, this is going to come to a close, it's more along the lines of, I can feel these things are finally starting to ramp up. Some of us are starting to feel the ramp up into what's going to be the new normal. And that energy can set in late on Monday. However, for more people, it's going to be a part of Tuesday just because of the way those energies are flowing. Now, going into those overnight hours, we're going to go ahead and get into Tuesday, get into the 16th. And right after the moon goes into Leo, the moon is going to hit this opposition to Pluto. Now, we feel this the most exact between 12:30 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 1:30. Here's the moon opposite Pluto. While the moon is hitting this opposition to Pluto, this is when Mercury will go over the exact eclipse point. The exact eclipse point from April 8th is 19 degrees, 21 minutes. You can see right here at 1:30, it's at 19 degrees, 22 minutes. It is close enough. I'm not moving this stuff by minute. You know I won't. It's too much time as it is. Whatever we are needing to face, whatever we can feel inside that we need to face, that we need to deal with, whether that is finally accepting somebody's change and their growth and their personal power because it's Pluto, or whether it is going, I cannot handle this anymore, and it is finally accepting that we are going to overcome a fear. There is some energy that's really ramping up in the late hours from Monday going into Tuesday. They're just the most exact on Tuesday, where we feel like we need to face something. Talk about how somebody has changed, whether it's a good change or a bad change. Sometimes you start to see somebody changing and you're like, you know what? You're not the same person anymore. You're a shitty person now. I don't know where my old friend went, but you have turned into the shittiest version of yourself. Other times it's like, I can't believe you've healed so much. I can't believe so much has changed. I'm so proud of you. For some people, we're going to showcase like a physical change. Like, look, I completely repainted this room. We renovated the house. This is our new countertops in the kitchen. Doesn't have to be horrible to be a change. Are you getting pictures at 1 o'clock in the morning about new countertops? Hopefully not. I mean, I've done that, but I was in home building for years. So sometimes they are late photos, but the human effect is not everybody's going to be doing that right here at this moment. A lot of people, it's going to be more a part of the energy of the next day, where we're finally completing certain stages, or we're seeing the full levels of how something is coming together and transforming into this finished product, something that we can be excited for. Again, each day this week, we are getting closer to this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. We're building to it every day this week. So the more we're starting to see certain things come about, the more excited we are feeling. Whether that is excitement is I'm finally going to leave this shitty job, or I'm finally going to move into my new house, like whatever the excitement is. Business is finally going great. We can see something, we can feel something. And for many of us, we're going to be feeling a lot of this energy throughout the day on Tuesday. Now, speaking of Tuesday, beyond this transit right here, there's not a whole lot going on except for one. And that's actually going to happen in the evening time. I'm going to get this to 8:30. And what I will show you next, for some people, it is going to be on Tuesday. For other people, this energy that I start to describe will not be on Tuesday. It will be on Wednesday. And Wednesday has a lot more transits to it. But no matter what, we can start to feel something. Now, for those that don't remember, our CONTRA-ANTISCIA is if you fold the chart at the equinox lines, we start to be able to see secret conjunctions. And if we folded the chart at Aries and Pisces, Libra, Virgo, this whole axis right here, Venus and Saturn would lay on top of each other. Now, a CONTRA-ANTISCIA does not always result in a physical transit for many. For some, it can be an internal motivation. And again, now that the moon is in Leo and the sun is wrapping up its time through Aries, there can be a motivation. There can be something that we can feel just kind of setting in. However, given the way this is going with the fact that Venus is coming into the actual conjunction to the North Node, something else feels like it's coming about. And the human effect of this is there can actually be an understanding of something deeper, something far more below the surface going on behind the scenes. And once it comes to light, it will make a lot of sense. But I feel like there's going to be something very timely and necessary and karmic of how we need to see or experience something or someone in action. Now, again, this CONTRA-ANTISCIA, it is exact on the 16th. And I'm showing you this here. But I do feel like the human effect is this is going to be a bigger part of the energy once we get into Wednesday. So I'm just going to keep rolling this through into Wednesday. But please understand this energy here, because it is actually exact at this 8:30. Venus and Saturn, if I was to fold the charts, they would be mathematically equaling 30. They'd be laying on top of each other. And there can be something to either the 16th, Tuesday, or Wednesday that directly go back to the Libra eclipse, which happened on March 25th, or that Venus-Saturn conjunction that happened the week before on the 20th, 21st timeline. March 20th, 21st, 22nd. It was the most exact on the 21st, but I'm putting everybody in perspective as to like what that timeline was. Where we did something, we agreed to something then with an elder, with the boss, we took some kind of responsibility. And then we had a few weeks of training. And now we go into this like, okay, you've had your training. Now I want to see you in action. I want to see what you got. I want to see what you're capable of. For some people, that's going to happen on Tuesday. For a lot more people, that's going to be a part of Wednesday. So let's keep this going. Let's get into Wednesday. There's a lot of transits to Wednesday, so everybody just be prepared. Wednesday's busy. Energetically, it's busy. Our excitement level is higher. We're going to be feeling a lot more things going on. And I want to get to this first one. So between 2 and 4 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I've got this now at 3:30, the moon in Leo is going to get a trine from Venus. Okay? 15 degrees, fire to fire. However, simultaneously, while she's going through the trine, she's also going through an in conjunction. The moon is going through an in conjunction to Saturn. There is a desire, a need to accomplish, a need to empower. But not everybody is in the same level of responsibility. And this again tells me there's this energy that's meant to play out in these few days where we want to see somebody in action, but not necessarily be a part of the action. So think of it in this term. A football player at a game, they're playing the best game, they're having the best time, they're doing it naturally, and they don't know that there's a scout in the stands taking note of everything. That's the Saturnian energy. Venus is the football player. I'm doing this. I'm feeling great. I'm taking all this action. I'm putting all this out there. I'm shining. Everybody can see me shine, that trine to the moon. But you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know the other half of that. You don't know that somebody's filming you doing this so naturally and it's going to go viral on the internet. You don't know that somebody else is taking a peek at something because the peek is not direct. And whenever I was meditating on this transit, like that was the one that made the most sense. It's like watching like that badass scene on the sports game in wrestling and football and hockey and whatever your sport is. Those are my three. Those are my three. And you don't know the judgment, the result, the way that it's being seen and documented and managed from this other side. Because the in conjunction to Saturn is it doesn't want to be seen. It's not an intended result, but it's going to come. However, some people are going to want to take certain actions this week because we do not feel like somebody else is being responsible. And that again fills a big part of the energy as we go through the day on Wednesday. Some people we need to see how they shine on their own, but we don't necessarily want them to know that we're in the room. We don't necessarily want them to know that we've got a copy of the tape because we don't know what we're going to do with it yet. It doesn't have to be heavy, but don't be surprised if you are doing something really magnanimous or you catch somebody doing something really magnanimous this week where they have some other unintended reaction that's about to come through that is not easily seen or understood in the moment. It'll come later. And I can feel this really big for a lot of people. Okay. Again, this is happening at between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning. The human effect is this is not going to all happen in the middle of the night. For some people, it's going to happen the day before. For other people, it's going to happen as the day continues on Wednesday because we got more transits. So let's keep it going. Between 9 and 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, we are going to get the moon and a trine from Mercury. Mercury moon. Again, Mercury is in one direction, the moon is in another. This is very fiery energy. So there can be some conversations that are had first thing in the morning. And again, if you're dealing with somebody that doesn't want to be held accountable, that doesn't want to do certain things responsibly the way that they should, this can be another one of those conversations like, I'm just going to do my shit and you do yours. Because I'm not in charge of your shit show. Go do whatever you're going to do. Now, for some people, this is not going to be heavy. This is going to be your morning coffee or you're out to brunch with your friend and they're telling you that they're looking for another job, that they're going in another direction, that they've made the decision in the last few weeks that we're doing something different. In other ways, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I wanted to let you know I've reconnected with so-and-so. You remember Sally? I haven't talked to Sally since high school. Do you remember my sister? You know how we haven't talked in a long time? We're starting to talk again. Yeah, they're really starting to come around. I know they're a little crazy sometimes, but sometimes they come back around. We all have a crazy sibling. But there can be energy where we talk about what has recently come back around. There can be the energy again of like going in the separate directions, of not wanting to be in the same page anymore. And again, feeling more and more empowered that we're about to cut something off and make a big change. Or there's going to be just this energy of just like not wanting to be responsible in the same way. Like it doesn't all have to be heavy. Okay. As we continue this going on, the moon is going to hit a trine from Chiron. And I thought it was interesting that whenever the moon goes through its trine with Chiron, it's also going in conjunct Mars. So Chiron, that's that wounded healer. How do we fix something? What actions do we need to take to fix something? Well, the way that I can fix it is not the way that they would want me to do it. It's not the way that we would normally do it. The only way I know to fix it is not going to make somebody else happy. They're not going to be okay with something. Why do I say that? Because while the moon is in the trine with Chiron, and Chiron, of course, is in Mars's sign, the moon is going through an in conjunction with Mars. You can see this here with this little dotted line. My actions, what I think is right, how I want to do something, how I think I can fix something, is not the way somebody else would want me to do it. They're not going to be happy. They're not going to agree. They're going to get salty. They're going to get mad. They're going to get pissed. Sometimes you have to just make the leap. I was a big proponent whenever I was still in home building. I was like, sometimes you just got to ask for forgiveness rather than permission, because when you're asking for permission for something that they don't understand, and they can't see the end effect, they can't see the happy customer, they can't see how well it can be, that it's easier to just make the plunge. And if it doesn't work, then it's easier to ask for forgiveness. Hey, we were trying to make it work and not bother you. We were just trying to make this, go okay. We were trying to fix this for the customer. We're trying to make them happy. We're trying to do this. Well, I would not have agreed to this. I would not have done this. I would not have accepted this. But now that I've seen it, I guess it's okay. And that can be a big part of the energy. Now, considering the moon's not done with its busyness and we have more things going on, and while the moon is going through this trine to Chiron and this in conjunction to Mars, Venus, again, is coming exact to that north node. Now, this goes the most exact at 1:40 p.m. Central Standard Time. So part of the way that we see something, part of the way that we fix something, so much of it feels like it's like consuming our energy and consuming the things that we're trying to put together. And we can feel really excited and feel really, really motivated because, again, Venus is coming into the conjunction with Rahu, the head of the dragon, while Jupiter and Uranus are entering their conjunction. This is not going exact until the 20th, but it's building all week. And you can see they're super close right here. And as the day continues, while Venus is hitting that conjunction to the North Node, it's like it's a layer. There's reasons. The moon is going to hit a square from both Jupiter and Uranus. Now, we will feel these the most exact between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. I'm just rounding both of those in there, giving a good 3-hour window. And that's all occurring while Venus is in that conjunction to the North Node. Uranus and Jupiter are in Venus's sign, and they're in the higher authority. For us to fix something, we need to take this kind of action. For us to understand something, we need to do something different. Now, for some people, that something different is going to be something out of the box, unexpected, unintended. You get some kind of unexpected communication, but for other people, it's not expected. You got something scheduled. And the Uranus part of this is going to be something energetic, something technological, something that requires the view of the healer, the doctor, the guru. There's a lot of this energy whenever it comes to Wednesday, the 17th, where we are talking about what's needed from the healer, how we fix something, how we're doing something. And again, some of the actions that are required are not necessarily going to be something that another person would agree to until afterwards. They're like, well, I wouldn't have done it this way, but I can see why. I can see that it worked. I can see that it helped. I can see that the client's happy. I can see something here. And there can be a very big part of the afternoon going into the early evening where it's like, expect the unexpected. Just based off of Jupiter and Uranus coming more and more into their conjunction, based off of all of those other transits, and so many of them are happening very simultaneous to one another. that it really kind of tells you how this week is going to go. And if you got two different situations going on where you're going in two different directions, you're going to know very quickly throughout the week. And other ways, it's going to be a multitude of small things going in all different directions. But again, for a lot of us, it's going to be a ripple effect of one thing after another that's leading to something big at the end of the week. Okay. Now, after Jupiter squared the moon and Uranus is square to the moon, after this energy, whether this is like a computer appointment or an unexpected situation or an unexpected run-in, whatever this is, we're just kind of rolling throughout the rest of the day. These are the last of the exact transits to Wednesday. I don't just want to go into Thursday now. So let's just go ahead and go into Thursday. That's the last of whatever is going on Wednesday. And now we're going to go ahead and get into the 18th. So let's get into Thursday. So once we're into Thursday, bump this forward, the moon is going to be in Leo all in the overnight hours. So we can be feeling that, again, that restlessness, that excitement, that type of energy as we get into the early morning, specifically between 6 and 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. The sun at 28 degrees is going to trine the moon. The moon is in the sun sign, fire to fire. We can feel very empowered to do something now. We can feel very empowered to take certain steps. We can feel super excited to do something. And what I think is really interesting is while the moon is going through this trine from the sun, it is also very much in conjunct Neptune. I know I'm doing the right thing because I'm not believing those lies anymore. Neptune's in conjunction. I know I'm making the right steps forward because I don't have to believe that old thing anymore. I'm not on that medicine anymore. I'm not feeling that thing anymore. I'm not a part of that anymore. There's some element of feeling empowered that we can take certain steps forward, break out of a situation, get something to level up, because the way that we're moving does not have some other effect anymore. Another way that I can see this kind of playing out for certain people is like, look, I have a client that he's famous for this statement. I don't believe in astrology, but I believe you. He's like, you were right too many times for me not to believe you. But whenever it comes to the whole element of astrology or spirituality or any of these other things, I don't have to believe that to believe you. I don't have to be a part of that community to know that this is the right steps forward. I don't have to make that connection over there, feel that effect over there, believe in that situation over there to feel like this is the right way for me to continue. And that too can be a part of the vibe once we get into the early parts of Thursday. So whether we're no longer feeling the effect, no longer on certain medicine, or no longer believing in somebody else's lies, we know we can't trust them anymore, because again, some part of this week is like we're going in two different directions. Wherever that part is going, that is a big part of the vibe as we understand Thursday and Friday. Now, at 9:11 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon's going to go into Virgo. So we got it at 9:30. Here's the moon, 0 degrees of Virgo, moved over. This will be the last full day of the sun going through Aries. So again, for many people, this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is going to result in some level of independence. And for many people, whatever we start to deal with next has some type of tangible, documented, evidential proof. There are screenshots. There is something tangible. There is something physical. We can see it. We are connecting. We are agreeing, because this can be awakening type energy. We are consuming. We're reading all the stuff, and we have something that is going to come together. The human effect is whatever starts to come together next all has to do with the fact that Mercury and Venus are going to go into a conjunction. But their conjunction is not exact until Friday. We're building to it all day on Thursday, once the moon goes into Virgo. And the human effect is once that moon goes into Virgo, Some of us are going to get some type of documentation, physical thing, some kind of paperwork. We're going to be looking over the terms and conditions of something that's starting to come together. It can actually come together on Thursday. That's the human effect, but the most exact transit is on Friday. So again, once the moon goes into Virgo, whatever is happening for you in this Mercury-Venus conjunction has to do with whatever is going on with the moon in Virgo. So what does Virgo rule in your chart? What does Mercury in general rule in your chart? But what specifically now does Virgo rule? Is this your 11th house of friends? Is this your 10th house of career? Is this your 6th house of health? Is this something going on with your children? You can be blindsided by something. Be aware of what Virgo rules in your chart once the moon goes into Virgo. Okay. There's a lot of energy this week. It's fun. Moving along. After the moon goes into Virgo, though, there's no direct transit. It's literally just whatever this is building into, this Mercury-Venus conjunction. So I'm just going to keep this going, and we're going to actually get into Friday when the Mercury-Venus conjunction goes the most exact. And that, of course, goes exact in the middle of the night again, because why would we have normal hours? God forbid. Okay. Venus's conjunction to Mercury will go the most exact between 3:49 and 4:08 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 4:30. Here's Mars, not Mars. Here's Mercury, here's Venus, here's their conjunction. Now, what I will say is also with Venus is Venus again is hosting Jupiter and Uranus. And part of the negotiations, the terms and conditions, the documentation, the job offer, the results, the scans, the screenshots, the whatever we're talking about can also be directly impacting whatever the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is going to be, because that goes exact on the 20th and this is the 19th. They're right on top of each other, babies. It's right there. So be aware of, again, what Virgo rules, but now also what Taurus rules. Is this going to be, again, friends and commitment? Is this going to be yourself as an individual and that 5th house of children? That was like a Taurus rising right there. If it's a Sagittarius rising, is this the terms and conditions of something tied to your health, the way you care for yourself, the way you care for other people, and also the way you're seeing career? Like, we need to be aware of what these things are going to represent, because Earth to Earth is speaking to one another as we continue through the 19th and the 20th. And there are actions involved because it's Venus's conjunction to Mercury in the sign of Aries. Necessary actions, healing actions, long-term actions that's coming together. And after whatever comes together with this Venus-Mercury conjunction, whether it is for you on the 18th, the 19th, or the 20th, we will finally start to settle down into something, because after this, Mercury is going to start to slow down. Not a joke. Okay. Moving this along. We got another thing going on, and this is going to happen a little bit later. So we're going to get this to about 10:30. Yeah. At between 10:04 and 11:05 a.m. Central Standard Time. So this is an hour. We have an exact sextile between Mars and the sign of Pisces, where this Mercury-Venus conjunction is occurring. Mars is making a sextile to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the host of Mars. So part of what is being provided, part of the actions involved, part of the connection, the terms and conditions, the agreements, whatever we have been in the process of renegotiating or reviewing based off whatever Mercury's tangible aspect is, we have some kind of action that we're pushing for, a desired result. I need you to look at this. I need you to understand this. Mars is in Jupiter's sign. I'm coming from this point of where I'm trying to help you because I'm in your house. I'm in your sign. I need you to see this, understand this. Look at this with me. Talk to me. And for some people, this is going to go well. Again, though, Mercury is retrograde. For some people, it's not. And some people are going to be getting some type of opportunity. And then later in the afternoon, we're going to have to break it to somebody. Or we're going to get some type of document, some type of offer, some type of opportunity, something exciting that's just in the air that we need time to wrap our head around. But there's something very big in a lot of our lives that's starting to come into shape, that's starting to push through, starting to flow through. Mars wants some type of action. He desires some type of action. There is some level of support that is needed. If you trust me, trust this. And there can be this hopeful desire for some type of action. But again, not everybody's going to understand. And again, whatever we are starting to deal with, this is going to be something that's going on for the long term. Now, the other thing that is starting to occur right here in this time frame, whenever Mars is going through its sextile to Jupiter, is the sun is now in the sign of Taurus. Now, usually the start of Taurus season would be April 20th, but we had a leap year this year, guys. So that's what I'm reminding you. I said this in the April month ahead. I'm saying this again now. There will be people later in life that they think that I'm an Aries because I was born on April 19th, and then their chart's going to get pulled and they're going to be like, how am I a Taurus? They were probably born on a leap year. And this is one of those moments that the sun has just now gone into the sign of Taurus. And whatever we're rethinking, revising, renegotiating, going back and forth about is meant to offer us some level of hopeful stability, because now the sun has just gone into Taurus, but we're not going to recognize it immediately. But it does still speak to the idea of whatever we're talking about, working on, or going through has a long-term effect, because we're now in Taurus season. A day early, but we're in Taurus season. Moving this along. Between 4 and 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, get this to 5:30, the moon is going to go through an opposition to Saturn. Again, you can get some kind of opportunity. You can have something that happens earlier in the day that you don't necessarily want to tell the boss until later. And this takes us into the later. The moon is going to hit this opposition to Saturn. This is, I have certain information, I have certain documents, I have this opportunity, I have this offer, terms and conditions, I found your ad, I found your flyer, I found this document, this thingy here, this tangible thing. You see the screenshots, you see the proof. And we're going to the authority figure. We're going to the elder. We're talking to somebody that we see as being the responsible person and the responsible party. Simultaneously, Mars is going through its sextile to Uranus. More exact, he's still in a sextile to Jupiter. I just like to go on the exact minutes. The effect is we're feeling this all day. Mars will sextile Jupiter, and the exact sextile between Mars and Uranus happens between 6:51 and 7:21. I'm not that far off. So there is this energy of like, when you go to the boss to tell them what you think, what you feel, what you found, what you're agreeing to, what you desire, what you've been offered, this opportunity at hand, the Mars-Uranus conjunction, or not Mars-Uranus sextile, can be a push towards something unexpected, can be the reaction to something unexpected. And again, that Venus-Mercury conjunction, it happened in Mars' sign. So a lot of the things that we start to deal with are reactions. And this is another energy where we say, expect the unexpected. And you can decide to take certain actions. You can see people in your surroundings deciding to take certain actions, taking something into their own hands. Or this can be where we get to that point in the day where we're like, okay, so something got messed up. You weren't around. I needed to make a decision. And I'm letting you know, here's the decision that we made. And I just need to know if you're mad at me or not. Because sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. This can be that moment where you have to go to somebody and ask for forgiveness. Hey, just so you know, I had to go rogue. You can get over it because it's done now. The cement is drying. Like the ink is drying. And there can be something that is very disheveling based off of Mars's sextile to Uranus. And whatever is going on, we've been rounding into this energy all week. We've been bringing ourselves into something exciting, unexpected, speaking to future independence all week. All week. All right. Now, after the moon's opposition to Saturn and Mars's exact sextile to Uranus, which that again goes exact between 6:51 and 7:21 p.m. So you can see that closer right here. After these are done, we're done with the transits for the rest of Friday. So we're just going to keep this going now. We're going to get into Saturday. The moon's going to be in Virgo all night. And when we get into the early morning the next day, specifically between 5 and 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Mercury sign is going to hit this opposition to Mars. Now, while the moon is going through this opposition to Mars, it's also having just gone through trines to Jupiter and Uranus. So I'm just summing this all up in one fell swoop because we can feel all of these roughly between 4:30 and 7 o'clock in the morning. So you got Jupiter trine the moon, Uranus trine the moon, moon opposite Mars. Are you sure I can't change your mind? Are you sure you're going to take that job offer? Are you sure you want to go in this other direction? Are you sure this is what you found? Are you sure this is a good deal? Are you sure this is something that we want to take? Are you sure this is something that we want to do? Because whatever information has come to light this week has a long-term effect. Some of us that are going to be taking certain actions or experiencing certain reactions. Again, I found your flyer. I found this certain thing. I wanted to know what's going on. I want to hear more. I want to talk to you more. I want to know more about something. Information is involved. Now, whenever it comes to the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, we're building to this all day. You can see how close they are in the evening time. A lot of us are going into next weekend, I can't talk now, feeling super excited and super hopeful that something's really starting to come together. We're feeling that shift in our luck. We're feeling the shift in our motivation. We're feeling more desired. We're feeling like something is really coming together. Some of us, we're going to be feeling super liberated. No, you can't change my mind. No, I'm not going to sit here and do this anymore. No, I don't want to put up with your shit. For other people, if you've been doing that nostalgic thing where you've reconnected to somebody, then this can be where you actually have a physical meeting. I know I ain't seen my sister in a long time. I ain't seen my brother. I haven't seen my uncle. I haven't seen my dad. But we're going to go to the park. We're going to go to the zoo. We're going to go do something. But we're going on neutral ground because, you know, I don't know how they're going to be acting. I don't need crazy. I don't want crazy in my house. Just to be clear. Okay. As the day progresses, we're still going to have the moon in Virgo all day. And we get into the evening time. And between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm just bumping this a little bit more. Here's 7:30. The moon is hitting its opposition to Neptune. The moon is hitting its opposition to Neptune right as Jupiter and Uranus are going the most exact. So the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction goes the most exact between 8:03 and 9:46 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's a big, long hour and a half. Many of us are going to feel this in our body, and we're not going to understand the effect. This moon opposite Neptune can really be like, we're feeling the effect of something, and it's leaving us feeling super confused. We don't necessarily know why we're feeling a certain way, but we're super excited and we feel like something's really coming together. We've just had a hellacious week, and some part of us is just feeling super magnanimous. Once we get into the evening time, Now, again, if we've met somebody, you know, we went to the park with that old family member that we ain't talked to in a long time. We know we just told the boss that we ain't going to be there anymore. We're not going in this direction anymore. I ain't going to work here anymore. Not my pig, not my farm. You know, I'm good for that saying. Some of us are going to be dealing with the after effect, be like, okay, well, so-and-so's quitting. What do I do next? That's their problem, not your problem. For some of you, there's going to be this huge sense of relief because you did just turn in your notice. And you know that you're not going to be able to be a part of something anymore. And you know that there's going to be all sorts of like trouble and confusion and everything over there, but that doesn't necessarily include you. For some people, we've had a great freaking day of just having something exciting and hopeful coming together, feeling this huge awakened healing energy of like, I'm so thrilled to see you. I'm so thrilled that this is going on. I'm so thrilled that we can do this. And then we get to the evening time and there's just that wave of like gratitude and nostalgia of grandma would be so proud. Grandpa would be so happy. Mom would be so happy if she was still here to see this, if she knew that we finally got over the situation. Because for a lot of people, there are actions towards healing, and that's where the accountability has been. And some of us are going to get to the end of the week and we're going to just feel this flood of emotions, necessary emotions. And even though the moon being in Virgo is not necessarily a huge emotional energy, there's so many other things that have gone on this week. I feel like that we can have some part of the evening that it's just like, why are you crying? I don't know, but I'm just happy. Just roll with it. If that's how you feel, just roll with it, baby. Okay. At 10:09 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Libra. The moon is now going back into Venus's sign. There's no direct transit right upon the entry, but there can be something that can be, again, a part of the unexpected energy. The Uranus-Jupiter conjunction is happening in Venus's sign. The sun is now newly in Venus's sign. And right after the moon goes into Libra, specifically more when we get into the 21st, the moon is going to trine Pluto. So here's the moon, 2 degrees, 9 minutes. Here's Pluto, 2 degrees, 4 minutes. Some of us are going to be talking about, literally talking, because it's air to air, about how much something has changed, or how many more changes we wish to do moving forward, or accepting acknowledgement to how much strength and personal power that people have been able to take back. For some of us, we're going to be talking about old fears and old wounds and old triggers. Doesn't have to be horrible, but there can be something based off of all the excitement at hand where we have that sinking sudden moment. And I don't wish negative, but there's always that little element of something that can sink in that we're not anticipating. And the thing is about these transits is that as much as we are going through changes as individuals, you don't necessarily always take into account like how many changes are going on with everybody else, with everyone else, and every other dynamic. And you don't know how it is impacting them because you don't necessarily have their chart. But we know that there's changes to this week, that there's transformation to this week. And for some people, the transformation that will be witnessed, not everybody is going to be happy about what they're seeing. And I need you to be anticipating that, especially as you get into Sunday. You go home, you tell your husband, yeah, I'm changing jobs. I got a job offer. We're going in another direction. I ain't working there no more. Fuck them. And you're happy with it. He's happy with it. But then you go to brunch the next day and you're talking to your dad, you're talking to your mom, you're talking to your brother, your sister, you're somebody else, your in-laws. And they'll be like, why are you going to leave a good job like that? Because I'm miserable. So we're all miserable in our jobs. We should not all be miserable in our jobs. We should not. But please be aware that there can be this indifference when you tell certain people that you're making a change because they don't necessarily know how to accept said change. Give them time. But there's a reason why I specifically say that. One, while the moon is going through the trine with Pluto, it is in conjunct the sun. So it's not seeing eye to eye with the sun. We're not seeing eye to eye with everybody about their decisions. That's okay. The Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, it is still very much in the vibe. Yes, it went exact on Saturday, but we are still in it on Sunday. So there's still even more waves of the unexpected. Pluto is in Uranus' sign. Jupiter's in Venus' sign. This is one element to where how a Venus-Uranus sign is connecting. On top of that, as we progress throughout the day, there is another Venus-Plutonian, Venus to Uranus kind of sign going on. And that actually goes the most exact between 11:50 and 12:14 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 11:30. It's close enough for government work. What we have is Pluto is going to square the sun, 90-degree angle. Pluto is going to square the sun. Seeing somebody in their personal power for the first time and seeing how much they have changed. Telling somebody else this long-term change that we're starting to set in, and they don't necessarily know how to deal with it. Turning the corner and running into somebody unexpectedly because it's a Uranian energy that we're in now. And all you can see is just how different they are. Other people will not see how different they are. They won't see the difference at all. They will immediately go back to that old wound, that old trauma, and they're just going to see that situation, that person, and whatever it is, and they're going to get triggered. And that is a part of the Pluto-Sun square. As much as everything throughout the week has continued, for some people, once we get into Sunday, whatever this Pluto-Sun energy is manifesting into, this might not be tied to the rest of the week. I was meditating on this for a while. And I'll be honest, when it comes to this transit in my own personal life, I'm blocked. I have no idea what this is. I just know it's highlighting a lot of my personal chart. But whenever it comes to some element of this, there can be things that are triggering because it's Pluto. What I'll also say is now that we have this square between Pluto and the sun, is that Pluto's going to start to slow down. And over the next 2 weeks, Pluto will turn retrograde. And whenever it comes to the Plutonian side of whatever we've been changing and transforming in regards to the sign of Aquarius, we're coming to a peak on that. Because again, once we get into May, Pluto will turn retrograde. So for some people, certain changes, not all the changes, but certain changes are coming to an end. They're coming to a peak over these next few weeks in this Jupiter-Uranus excitement energy. You're going to be so exciting, just vibing with somebody and thinking, oh my God, it's going to be so great. But then some part of you is going to be scared. Maybe it's a bad idea. Sometimes the devil I know is better than the devil I don't. I don't know who I'm going to be working with now. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Whatever you're moving into, as much as I always play devil's advocate of letting everybody know only so much of what we've been starting through the months of March and April is going to stick later on because we're going to get tested later in the year. As much as I know the tests are coming, I also know it's necessary to make the changes right now. And whether you know the tests are coming or not shouldn't make a difference on whether you're doing what's best for your mental health. Considering while we're going through the day on Sunday, Venus and Chiron will go through their actual conjunction. And that actually happens between 6:44 and 7:02 a.m. And again, the sun is in Venus' sign. The moon is in Venus' sign. The Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is Venus' sign. Yes, there can be fear. And yes, there can be triggering. But given the Chiron-Venus conjunction, this is meant to be healing. This is meant to be a fix. This is meant to be helpful. Yes, in some element, it is in temporary energy, but the temporary part does not necessarily mean that the new job will not work out. Maybe you're going to be a bigger replacement in that new job than you realize. Just because we're going into some elements of right now that is going to be temporary doesn't mean the worst of everything. It just means it's going to be tested. Wherever we're going now, whatever we're working on now, whatever's coming together for us now, it is meant to come together now. Because this is the only timeline of us having all of these North Node conjunctions in Aries. The next time we have all the conjunctions to the North Node will be in Pisces. So whatever we're moving toward, whatever is being instigated, whatever is building in this vibration of movement, it is necessary right now. And just because something will get tested later this year does not mean you should fear taking the new job, taking that opportunity, making these levels of reconnection, this healing, letting that family member back into your life. You should not fear that. Because in some way, Daddy Saturn said it's time. It's time. Allow for yourself to enjoy the new as it comes through. Allow for yourself to accept this new area of growth and change, this excitement, this breakthrough, this awakening, this expansion, this major expansion. Jupiter expands everything that it touches. For some of us, again, Jupiter-Uranus is going to be an expansion in technology, a growth in people. But for other people, it's going to be a hopeful breakthrough, break up, a new chapter in independence. This is a transit that happens once every 14 to 15 years. And it's happening, yes, while Saturn is in shadow. But the next time Jupiter and Uranus will have a conjunction, it won't be in Taurus, babies. It'll be in Cancer. It's a long time away. So the things that are coming together now, they're meant to come together now. So I know sometimes you guys hear what I say and I give those forewarnings of like, okay, because when I say it again later this year, you're gonna be like, you didn't say that then. Bullshit. I said it then. I'm saying it now, and I'll say it again whenever it's time. There's so much of this energy that is meant to come to through now. It is meant to be the new gains as to now. And all of the shakeup, all of the changes, all of the new things that are coming through in April, because the entire month of April is about the new things, the new chapters, the new beginnings, that new excitement, that expansion, that growth, that faith, whatever it is for you. Once we get into May, we start to understand the new normal. But for us to understand what that new normal is going to be, we have to reach that peak of where it even comes in, of where it even starts to matter. There is huge shifts coming throughout the rest of April. And a lot of them are coming through just based off that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, because we're going to be in it for 10 days. And in 10 days, I'm saying like, that's when they're within a degree of one another. And while they're within a degree of one another, and that's the 15th to the 25th, we have all these other transits that are going to happen. We got a full moon that's coming in Scorpio next week. We're going to have the end of the Mercury retrograde. There's going to be other things that are playing into that energy. And again, whatever we're doing next, whatever is starting to come through, wherever that expansion is, whatever that excitement is, that awakening, that healing, that necessary energy, it's time for it. Accept it with open arms and make the best of the new situations as they're coming through. And just know, yes, there will be tests later on. You get tested on everything in your life. It's just rare that somebody tells you ahead of time there's going to be a test. That's it. Tests don't have to be bad. They strengthen us, they empower us, and they give us more gratitude for what we create and what we have. All right. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for the trust. Thank you for everyone that's listening and everybody that's been tuning in. Thank you for all of the referrals. And thank you for the people that share this to their friends and their family that are trying to get them to understand astrology more. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. All right. Have a great week. Subscribe.